We're back on Larry King Weekend. Our entire program tonight devoted to Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. The movie comes at Thanksgiving. The final episode, All Good Things, airs next week. We're meeting the cast, and we're going to have a wide range of discussion on this whole concept. How did you get the part, Nana?
2 5-minute auditions. I came in for the producers, and then came back and did it again for Paramount, and that was it. It was one of the quickest processes I've ever been through. That was it. It was it.
Was it a simple agent calling you up and saying they're doing this new?
Yeah, you know, and I got the sides, and I didn't read the cover page, so I didn't know it was Star Trek. I didn't know anything. I just read Major Kira. It was like, read Major Kira, and I did, and it was, I've got to do this. I passionately had to do this character.
Because, he said the same thing about me. Why?
Because, well, first of all, the writing. It's hard to find writing like this. It's everything an actor wants to play with, you know? It makes it Disneyland. And this woman was multi-dimensional and fallible and opinionated and all these things. It's so rich. Well, how wonderful. Playing someone who has somewhere to go, some kind of growth, you know, has to happen in her life.
Renee, how'd you get... Now, I had seen you on Broadway recently in...
Yeah, City of Angels.
City of Angels, you were fantastic. Did you get Tony?
Thank you. No, I was nominated.
Nominated. You were wonderful in that.
Thank you.
And that had a long run.
Yeah, it did. Well, I stayed with it for the first season, first year.
How did you come to...
the script came through my agent, and I'd love to say they just offered it to me, but that's not the case.
You had a read, too?
Oh, yeah, many times, actually. I think partly... partly because the character is a very complex character that could have gone a million. I'm sure they could have cast it with a number of different actors. I mean, a woman could have played this character, Odo, and but I read it, and again, I was like blown away by it. And
it was nothing like the character you played in Star Trek VI, was it?
You know, how do you know I was even in that? I'm always amazed at people.
They told me.
Wow, yeah, there you go. See, actually, I didn't know I was in it. Let me explain that. I did it.
But it wasn't Odo.
I did it. No, it wasn't Odo. It was a Starfleet officer.
Did you like Odo right away when you read it? Did you say, I want to do this like everybody else?
Crazy about it. I talked about it at dinner that night and described the character, and my daughter said, "Oh, Dad, you'll get that part." And it was so sweet and so innocent. And then I proceeded to go through a series of auditions in which I think Rick was one of my strongest supporters, but had to convince some other people, because you have to convince a lot of people.
How many people have to say okay? Cast a major character.
Well, and in Deep Space Nine, there was myself and my partner on that show, Mike Pillar, and then a bevy of studio executives that came in. Yeah, we had about 3 or 4 suits we had to deal with. But there were very few bits of convincing being done to any of these people.
What's it like for you guys, the waiting for the callback?
For me, it was. I'm sorry. I had an interview process like none I had. Two. I had the first one. My agent called and said, "Michael, they want to see you for a part of the Klingon." And she says, "What's a Klingon?" I said, "Don't worry." And so I went in for the first interview. Read. There was a large number of guys there, and then they had a call back, and they told me the day that I read. I mean, before I left the office, and so the process was very fast. In fact, it was an afterthought. The character was not part of the original.
So you didn't have to go through this.
God, no.
Michael literally turned his character into a full-time character. We originally wanted Worf to be a recurring character 7 years ago, and he did such a great job that after about a couple of months, we
similar
turned him
to Fonzie. The way Winkler grew that role. What about you? Did you have to wait?
It was horrible. It was horrible. Actually, I realized that when I was hired, they didn't know who I was at all, because I did a panel with Gene Roddenberry a couple of years after the show, and someone asked him who had changed the most from the cast, and he said, Marina. When we met Marina, she was this little shy, retiring, English, naive little wallflower, and now she's blossomed into this loud, flamboyant person. And I thought, wow, I was that nervous that I just didn't come through. I didn't come through at all. in the audition process, I was so terrified. I did 6 auditions, and each one was more terrifying than the one before.
The call like
They
this.
do get worse.
They do get worse.
But the more you know, if you only have one,
you're being considered, right?
well, because you have to keep trying to hit that same mark or get beyond it. It's a very tough thing to
Well,
do.
when do you hit the point, like I would think, when do you hit a point when you don't have to do this?
I don't know. It's very interesting, you see, because I mean, I directed for the first time.
An episode.
An episode, yes, of Deep Space Nine, a wonderful thing. But you see, Fritz Weaver is his name.
Great actor.
Great actor. You see, I looked at the list of folk to come in. I said, which Fritz Weaver is this? Do you mean to tell me that this man is coming in?
To read?
To read for this? I said, wow. And indeed he came. What? What a wonderful, but, so it's extraordinary. I mean, at what point,
When do you have the job, Nana? I mean, when do you have to prove it?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, let's say Deep Space Nine runs another 8 years.
Yeah.
Now, someone's got a series in mind, and they call you, and they say, come read for this.
And
Wouldn't they know already?
But I will. I would want to. I'm one of those people that I like to audition. It's like, wait, watch this and tell me what you think, because if you don't like it, I don't want to do it.
They still
So watch me.
Would you expect, even with all the accolades you've had, to still have to read?
It just depends on what the project is. I mean, you know, you got to understand that Star Trek, I mean, every actor in the city, this city, New York, Chicago, London, was trying to get on this show.
Because of the show
Because
impact.
the nature of the show, the kind of audience you're going to reach, and the fact, as you said before, this is we belong in a profession where most people are unemployed.
It's the biggest syndicated hit ever, and we'll talk about science fiction and playing it, and the whole Star Trek concept is a hit right after this.
So why don't you start telling the truth?
Whose side are you going to be on, Constable?
I'm not going to play your game.
When I tell you the truth, you'll have to choose.
No. That's why I was given this job. That's why all of you always come to me with problems. I'm the outsider. I'm on no one's side. All I'm interested in is justice.